Good morning, everyone. Looks like we are live. It's another episode of the Afterglow Live Recap podcast of Global Leaders Organization. My name is Syya Yasotornrat. Uh-oh, Erin.
No, sorry. I'm trying to share your LinkedIn Live. I'm Erin Gregor. Sorry.
No worries. And so we're here to recap this week's discussion. We had a great topic. I know everyone's really excited to hear about Monday. And it's about, as business owners, when is it right to look for access to capital, right? So on that note, though, we do have the most illustrious Happy GLO member, Mr. Stan Golubchik, is joining us. Good morning, Stan.
Good morning, Syya. How are you?
You know what? I am so sorry. I probably should have asked you in advance how to pronounce your last name. Did I mess that one up?
No, it wasn't butchered. It was actually rolled right off the tongue.
Excellent. So, Mr. Stan, before we start gabbing away about money and again, getting access to capital as we discussed earlier, or I shared earlier, tell me about yourself. What is ContraForce and what's your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me start first, just really kind of talking about why I joined GLO. It was a great organization to network with like-minded individuals and obviously work with great people such as yourself and Erin. So I'm glad to be part of this. I'm super excited to be here. And so ContraForce, I'm actually the founder and CEO, and we're a cybersecurity service and consulting group. And we really focus on expertise around security implementation, integration, governance, risk, compliance. And we specialize highly around security data analytics, and we help customers create custom profiles and unique solutions for their own environment. So I also wanted to talk about just briefly around Multi-Cloud Leadership Alliance, and I'm also a founding member there. And really what that is, it's we started that late last year. It's an entity to help influence cloud service providers. And we look to foster, education and go-to-market strategies for over 120 members. So really excited to, represent both of those businesses and be here as well.
Very cool. And so just anyone that I do have a technology network. So for all my tech friends, definitely consider a look at the Multi-Cloud Leadership Alliance. You could reach them at the LinkedIn company profile, which is multi-cloud-leadership-alliance, if you're typing that in, folks. So shout out to our good friend, Miss Leah McLean. She's a rock star.
It was great.
Okay, so shall we jump into this? This is probably my weakest topic, so I'm going to lean heavily on you guys to really set me straight, because I actually have never asked for money before from a professional context. Or looked for money before from a professional context. So let's talk about Joseph Barisonzi. He is a spitfire, you guys. He was throwing so much information our way. I almost feel like I couldn't take notes fast enough. So Stan, I'm going to have you kick this off. What was the number one takeaway that you got that just resonated with you?
Yeah, you know what? I think, there was a lot of great, financial insight, information, and direction, but really my takeaway was building those authentic relationships, especially when we look at the post-COVID economy, right? Everything has shifted virtually. Everything is digitalized. So being able to nurture and develop a authentic relationship through Zoom and whatever other platform, it becomes so much more difficult, right? A few key points he talked about was being able to still maintain that verbal, but also nonverbal communication. And how does that get lost during this kind of medium of communication? So, you still have to show, authenticity. You have to have eye contact. The vulnerability, I think, that's just really going to have to be messaged through your overall words and really your train of thought. So I think there's a lot of value to be had there, because we're going to have to start to understand, how do we start nurturing these relationships in this digital landscape where before we had that interaction face to face.
That is 100% true. I mean, Erin, how important do you think relationships are, especially now?
Well, I mean, that's pretty much been the theme. So can I take a step back, though, before I answer that question? Because I really want to pimp out GLO, because I think this is what makes GLO so special, is this whole fundraising side to things, in that that's why this presentation was yesterday, in this ability to help people access capital. It's one of the biggest reasons business fail is, not enough money. A lot of people think they need capital to start, but truly you're seeing a lot of more in the sense of you've started gaining momentum, but you really can't get any further without more money. You get kind of stuck in this between a rock and a hard place where you need more money to grow, but you can't really get more money until you grow. And that's where you're seeing a lot of people need it. So anyway, I just wanted to pimp that out and make that, I think that's what made GLO so special to me. I've never actually needed to raise money, but I've invested in companies. So I've been on the other side of things. And I'll tell you, from a relationship perspective, it's huge. And you're seeing that as the theme of all of these events. Start the relationships. It doesn't mean, we always kind of wait until we need something. And that's the worst time. It's like needing money. The worst place you could possibly be in is to need the money. When you don't need the money and you can build those relationships without this, without any strings attached, without any needs, it's the perfect time to do it. So now is the time to start building those relationships. Now is the time to connect, because I can tell you, yes, investing is about money, but there's so much about those relationships that are so much more important. You don't want to take money from the devil. You know what I mean? And you don't want to take money from somebody who maybe is only, unless it's a silent partner, but if they really can't help you with your business too, that could be a negative. So you really want to build those relationships to know who you're getting married to, whether you like it or not. And really, start to build those relationships now before you actually are desperate and need it, and maybe sign away more of your business than you want to, maybe attach to somebody that's not a good person, etc.
I think you nailed it. It reminded me of that conversation when GLO hosted Joel Peterson, the former chairman of JetBlue.
Mm-hmm.
He is an investor. He has been an entrepreneur. He's also been in corporate leadership, and 100%. Every step of the way, he has told his students and others to develop that relationship. And he himself has invested in one of his students. It was in his book, Entrepreneurial Leadership, that this particular student started another business with another student, and it didn't work out for whatever reason. And this individual was going through some personal challenges as well as professional challenges, but Joel still invested in him. And now they've got this multi-billion, dollar business. It's personality. Investors will work with you. You may not have your business defined perfectly, but if you have the right quote, the right stuff, it seems there is opportunity out there, but you have to cultivate it. Erin, you're right. It's got to start from day one, not day 150.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more either. And I think it's interesting because, Erin, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's about the people. And, I think the conversation, that was happening yesterday with Joseph, and to your point, Syya, as well, we look at people as being really the most valuable assets. It's that human element. And that's where investors truly look at, because if you look at a company starting up, they're bootstrapping, they're obviously going to be hurting financially, or they don't have the capital means to be able to grow their business. So the financial investor, the potential community is going to look at that individual and say, well, what am I going to be investing in long term? And that's the personality, the people, their skill set, their capability to work with others and develop relationships, right? That's the true value. And I think there was some questions that arose yesterday around, well, I need capital, but to be able to raise capital, I have to have money. So it's a chicken and an egg conversation. So how do you actually get to that next point when you're at point A with no capital? And really that's around building the network and being able to be scrappy and understand, how do I use my resources preemptively and use a community around me to help myself get to where I need to be. And of course, I think that Joel Peterson is a great example, because he talked about really giving back, about, hey, I don't expect anything in return. Reciprocity is nice, but at the end of the day, if I can go to, Syya and give Syya some help, I'm not expecting anything in return, because I just want to see Syya be successful. I want to see her be helped and assist her where she wants to go toward her goals.
Oh, I feel like verklempt. I'm so excited. Thank you for helping me, even though it was anecdotally. So, okay, here's another thing too that I didn't realize. And again, I admit I'm a newbie on this, you guys. That's why I have Erin, because Erin's a smarty pants. But he said there's different kinds of capital. There's earned, debt, and equity, right? And I thought that was fascinating because to me, when I think of capital, I just immediately go to what can investor give me money wise, right? But there's different types, right? So there's earned, right, based on the revenue of your business, right? There is the debt where you want to pay off the debts and you're seeking access to just keep the lights on, if you will. Equity, meaning you want to give them capital or you want to give them a percentage of the business. What did you think of that, Stan, when you heard that? Of what kind of capital investment do you want it to be? Do you want it to be, through revenue, through, debt consolidation, if you will, or paying that down, or equity in the company, or all three, or two, whatever?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I think those three avenues, you really have to take a step back and be able to determine what's going to be best for your business or as yourself as an entrepreneur and founder of a company, because each one of them have, some caveats and they have risks associated. I know from my purview, really being able to focus on how do you grow a business organically without any injection of capital, of course, is going to be the ideal state because you're not giving out your company, you're not diluting the company, and you're being able to contain the culture of your business and actually help it nourish the way you want to, right? As soon as you start bringing in outside investors, they have, their skin in the game. So they're going to be asking, why are you doing X, Y, and Z? And you should be doing it this way. So you start actually losing that control. So, it's your business, it's your baby. You want to bring in the people that are like-minded. That said, you still can find investors that have the same kind of mentality and thought process and value and culture and core value. So I think there's value also looking at if I want to go dilute and essentially give away some equity, who are the appropriate investors to do that? Who are the group, if they're angels, VCs, I want to work with firsthand that understand my vision and want to help support what I want to get to. And those kind of more passive ones, I think, are great because they are, again, investing back into you as a person, first and foremost. And then, of course, the debt, when you look at things such as a SAFE or convertible note, those are things that are deferred payments and debts, and they have a lot more flexibility than if you're going your traditional route, let's say working with a bank and getting a financial loan there. So, it really kind of comes down to what's your appetite, where are you currently in your business, what's your overall risk adversity as well, because you want to try to be obviously control to a, obviously a normal degree and not give away too much early on because down that road, that is going to be detrimental.
That's true. Erin, have you any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people watch Shark Tank, so that's what they think you do, right? You just give away your company,
Yeah.
give away a big portion of your company. And the problem is I have several, but okay, you start giving more and more and more your company away, which is, you build a Facebook or an Instagram and, 10% of that company isn't too shabby, but you also have to start, to Stan's point, you also start losing control and you also have more people to answer to and your culture changes. So there's all these different things that you have to think about outside of money. I also am a little bit on the old school side of thinking in that I know things are different now because people or companies are building at losses and still getting invested in because, you're getting Uber is the perfect example of a company, which I don't know if we want to use them as a poster child. All these companies are pounding money into them, even though they're really not proving a concept just to build and build and build. And I personally believe there has to be some substance. There has to be some foundation to the business. And that's where your own capital comes into play, that before you start collecting money, because I've seen, young kids kind of have, I sound old when I say that, but younger kids kind of have this mentality, like I'm going to celebrate the raise versus what I'm doing with the raise in the business. And okay, great. That is fantastic that you went out and got $5 million for your business. Personally, I care more what you do with that $5,000 and what you turn that into versus just being able to raise, because I think money really is easy. I know I've seen companies that are just dumping money. They've got no firm foundation, but people are investing in them because they were in esports, let's say. And they just liked the term esports. So they were giving them money and these kids were just burning through money. And there's there's problems there, and you have to be really, really, really careful, not just in how much you get, but what you actually do with that. So, and there's the debt side too. You can just get, pay off debt, and that way you're not giving away a chunk of your company too. So there's different ways. Not everything you see is like what it is on TV. Just saying. Sorry to put that out there for people.
No, you just reminded me of one of our older guests on Innovation Calling. That's another podcast that Erin and I have. And Erin, if you remember, oh my gosh, his name just Will over at Alto, right? Like he raised $10 million for his startup, and it is basically a higher and more luxury service. I don't want to call it Uber, but it's a driving service basically. But all the employees, all the drivers are employees, and it's all very high tech, high quality security as far as like safety for the riders. And of course, in a nice car, and they've got all sorts of cool technology integrated into it. But Will Coleman, when I had made a comment saying, congratulations, you raised 10 million, he just kind of rolled his eyes at me like, yeah, that's great, but I've got to turn it into something. And you just nailed it on the head there. And when someone rolls their eyes at you very gently, you've made, you've got to learn something from that statement.
No, one of my favorite stories, real quick, Gary Vaynerchuk tells a story of how he invested in this. I'll keep using the term kid. I'm so old when I say this, but he invested in this kid, and kid ends up coming to him a year or two later. He's like, we lost everything. We're going to shut the company down. But Gary, I really just want you to know, I learned so much through this whole experience. If you follow Gary Vaynerchuk at all, there's a few explicitives in that. And he's like, I don't care what you learned. You just lost all my money. Like, this is okay to you, but it's also like, anyway, I know not everybody's like that, but I think you have to be very, very, very cautious. A lot of people are like, it's AI and IoT related, and
hashtag.
$1 million. And like, oh, IoT, okay, here's 7 million, but yet there's no true foundation or true concept or business I don't want to say plan, but way to really generate money. So anyway.
Yeah, and investors aren't out there to pay for your education.
I don't really want to. Yeah.
That was quotable. I like that one. Oh my God, I'm gonna have to make that a quote. Okay, I have to type that. I'm gonna have to write that down. Why don't I have my pen and paper on me? Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Okay, so while I'm writing that down, you guys. So there was a question that someone had on crowdfunding, which I find interesting because I never really thought, again, in a business context, how crowdfunding can be used. I think of crowdfunding, and maybe it's my own, again, naivete, to crowdfund for arts, like, or some kind of gadget or something, not necessarily for, I guess in our head, when I think of all the GLO members, the level of sophistication in the business, I don't know. I'm sorry when I say that, but I feel like crowdfunding is more creative pursuits or earlier starts. Or what are your thoughts on crowdfunding, you guys? Because I just think of angel investors as being the traditional route to raise capital.
Go ahead, Sam.
I thought you were going to jump on that one.
My opinion, but go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's got its time and place. I definitely see it being more applicable to kind of the B2C, the consumer side business as well. Because you have to just look at something with, probably an inkling of information. You can't really sit there and do your due diligence on a company, right? So it is a little bit more of a leap of faith. The good thing though is that if you're able to really articulate a problem and a clear solution, most of those people out there in masses can understand and say, hey, there is value in what I'm going to invest in down this crowdfunding route. So it can work, but at the end of the day as well, I don't think it's as strategic. I would look at it more a little bit as a shotgun approach where you're just hoping for the best and not aligning with just saying, if I'm working with a VC, for example, a VC can obviously provide you a multitude of other benefits, right? Like their network, their customer base, other connections as well too, which can help bridge down like a series A, B, and C. While crowdfunding, I think, is just really, really early stage, and it can be used, but it's a little bit more tactical in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I think I think crowdfunding is genius to prove a concept before you ever, like you were saying, see a gadget, products, or even a concept of maybe a content company. You want people to be part of something. I think that's what's really fun about crowdfunding too. I know Podcast Movement is a great example. Their very first event, they crowdfunded, and all these people that contributed, sorry, I hit my face, but all these people that contributed wore these t-shirts. Like, I was part of making this whole first event happen. And being able to do stuff like that through crowdfunding is really cool. And it just makes people want to be a part of something and to allow that. Later stage, I agree with you, Stan. I would want more. If I'm getting to a certain level, I want more than just the money. I don't want my, we've already proved the concept. We've got it. I don't necessarily want to, a bunch of people, yeah, sure. If they want to cheer me on, go for it and be part of it. That's great. But I'd rather have the higher level help and connections. To me, that just seems more important.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say though, crowdfunding definitely works for some of those larger valuation companies, that are developing hydrogen and electric vehicles. So it can be strategic, but I think you have to have a pretty established brand name and reputation in the industry to do so.
Got it. So going back to then what we kind of mentioned earlier there, with having those authentic relationships, he also made a comment about being authentic online, meaning whatever presence you have, what's, I guess, for lack of a better term, maybe your personal branding to represent yourself a particular way. Let me ask you this, guys. When you're raising or you're looking to raise capital, how do you define personal branding and your personal being, if you will, of who you are versus your branding? Do you differentiate, or do you see a difference between the two?
Erin, I'll let you take that one first.
I would say if you're differentiating those things, that's a little shady to me, to be honest with you. I don't think you have to. I think, all right, let's use, I have 2 kids, right? I don't have to, when I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm a dog rescue, okay? So I don't have to be posting pictures of me with my dogs on LinkedIn, right? But I think to mention that, or for people to know that, is an important maybe part of my persona. So there's a line. Like, you're not going to just, what you see me on my personal profile on Facebook is not what you're going to see me on LinkedIn. However, people may check out your personal profile on Facebook too to get that persona and that brand. So you have to be careful. One of the theme over and over and over again that you'll hear from investors is that they invest in the person. So your personal brand is extremely important out there, because I'll be honest with you, you can do a lot of cool things and make yourself look pretty awesome out on the personal brand and kind of not really be doing anything. We see a lot of people doing that. But I also wouldn't differentiate, where if you saw my profile on Facebook and you saw my profile on LinkedIn, you'd be like, who the hell is that? That doesn't look like the same person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree more, actually. I think there's an inherent flaw. I mean, one of them I see with social media platforms is that everyone puts their best foot forward, right? So when you talk about authenticity, you kind of have a duality there. You have, I'm essentially showing, this moment in my life, and people start to perceive that kind of as a consistent trend. But in reality, everyone has the same problems in their own unique, different way. And so when they don't really show that side and that vulnerability, about how they actually go through difficulties like everyone else, you start to kind of build this image and perception where in reality, it's not who they really are. So I think not having a two-sided way, keep it real. I mean, that's really what it is. Vulnerability, I know we talked about that. That's a key thing. Everyone has their strengths and everyone has their weaknesses. And to me, weaknesses are actually a powerful thing, because what you end up doing if you do it correctly is you find the people that help supplement those weaknesses, and you build friendships and relationships out of them. So I think it's actually a strength, but you have to know how to approach it head on.
I love that. So I want to give shout out to some of the comments here that people are joining in on. So Leah, she quoted Erin, people want to be part of something and to allow that. Can't agree more. And Rashmi, your personality is your brand. How you show up for different activities can be part of personality. Be authentic always. So, and we know Rashmi, she's extraordinarily like, you get what you see with her for sure.
And
I wish I had her energy.
Yeah, me too. And I just need to back up a moment because I realized I aged myself by talking about your Facebook profile. I should have said what's different on your TikTok profile.
Well, I was going to say MySpace. Yeah.
Yeah, I did say it's more important what Tom thinks of me versus the world. I didn't say.
Jeez, what is MySpace? Okay, hey, you know what? We joke about MySpace, but Tom is retired and gallivanting in Hawaii somewhere. So
good for Tom.
Right.
Yeah, and then talk about a guy that raised capital, right, and sold off, right? Like,
yeah.
Okay, so here's another question I have, and I know, Stan, you're going to be going through this as a founder of a tech company and security, no less. What are your thoughts about pitches and Joseph's statement about pitching beyond the pitch?
Yeah, that's a big one. I think it's multifaceted. You look at a pitch, people really take it to be black and white. Hey, I have to have, and Joseph spoke to this as well, and I agree wholeheartedly. You have to have a set number of slides. Each slide has a mission. You're trying to actually articulate a specific value, and it becomes very structured. And those obviously are done in a way because typically these people that are pitching to investors, they only have a very small amount of time with those investors because you can imagine these investors are getting hundreds of thousands of pitches every single day. So you got to make every single second count. So that's why there's that kind of structured approach, and it makes sense. The problem about that is a lot of people focus on just the pitch and they don't think about what's the business going to look like? How am I going to do business? How am I going to generate revenue? Who are the people I'm going to bring on to be able to actually accelerate the business to where I need to get to? Those are those kind of milestones where I think when you think about beyond the pitch, it becomes critical, and investors look at that. They want to know what's your 24, 36, 48 month milestone. Financials aside, we all know that you're going to have the hockey stick curve, right? Everyone, when they talk about that financial model, they're always going to have a linear trend upwards because why else would you make that slide, right? But what does that really mean? You have to be pragmatic, and you have to also understand, or you have to let the actual investors understand how you're going to get there. So I think those little nuances are actually more critical because those conversations do arise in the early stages of investment opportunities and funding capital. So you've got to keep that in mind and always understand what's your North Star and how am I going to get there, month after month.
Wow. Erin, it's as if this guy's like studied up or something.
I know. It's like he knows what he's talking about.
What?
Yeah, no.
But that's the other thing too that Joseph made very clear was no one knows everything and knows it all. You're going to stumble. You're going to make mistakes. There are steps in place to minimize those mistakes, but don't walk in as you're going down this path of looking for capital that you're going to be perfect from the get-go. And I like that message because as entrepreneurs, Erin, do you like to admit when you make mistakes?
Actually, I don't mind admitting when I make mistakes because I've made a lot of them in my life, and I've gotten to a point where I'm okay with it. I hate making them. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm okay admitting them.
Stan, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me ask you two this question real quick. Actually, are y'all a love to win or hate to lose mentality?
I hate to lose.
Yeah. I'm the same way. I think as much as I don't like the failures, I think they're a necessity and it helps us just get better. So for me, I actually look forward to them because I know they're going to happen. No one's perfect. The more we can actually fail and pick ourselves back up and not repeat the same mistake, the quicker we're going to be able to get to our goal.
That's true. Man alive. You're like Obi-Wan.
Can I bring up one more point too because I know we're wrapping it up? I think one more thing that he mentioned, Joseph, yesterday was about kind of the BS, like when we talked about the pitch, the BS numbers. And a lot of people get swept up in this of, you know, I hear, this business is in the pet industry, which is I'm pulling numbers out of thin air, but a $20 billion industry. So if we can just get 0.5% of that, we're going to kill it, right? Those are like people, a pitch, an investor's heard that 1,000 times before. That means absolutely nothing. You've got to like really dig in and talk about how you're going to, you know, penetrate this market and how you're going to make a difference and how you're actually going to make money, not just saying it's a big chunk. If we can even just get a tiny bit of it, we're going to kill it. Nobody wants to hear that. And he talked about those numbers, like going to banks and going to investors. You're just going to get an eye roll on those.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Yep.
Dude, I'm so excited. I was a little nervous. I'm not going to lie. This is probably, like I said, is for me, it's uncomfortable because I also, and this is another, maybe we get a psychiatrist. Oh, wait. That would be our lead up to the next speaker. She is a doctor, I believe, of psychology. And, but I digress. I got excited there. So, Stan, it was such a pleasure to have you, sir. And thank you for joining us. Could you, if someone wants to learn more about ContraForce and what you guys are doing, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, no, it's a pleasure to be on here, Syya. Thank you for your guys' time and let me speak with you. And Erin, thank you as well. And for everyone out there, to get more information on ContraForce, you can just visit our website, www.contraforce.com. And there's plenty of information. And if you have any further follow-ups, go ahead and you can send an email for consultation through the website.
Excellent. Erin, did you have any parting thoughts?
No, I'm good.
Excellent. So I know we're running a little bit long, but guys, the speaker series at Global Leaders Organization, there is a reason why Erin and I are passionate as the Dallas co-chairs, is because it is about building a community. We've got amazing people like Stan on here and obviously our previous past guests. But it's also about getting access to amazing content. I mean, Afterglow wouldn't exist unless we had the opportunity to hear from some other successful individuals that can give some insight to us on our own entrepreneur leadership and leadership path. And then, of course, that capital access, because ultimately, if we're not making money and we're not helping each other and grow, we're probably not going to be around from a business perspective. So to learn more about Global Leaders Organization, go to withglo.com. There's tons of areas that you can investigate. Yesterday, we announced the investment portal, which is very specific for those that are seeking access to capital to prepare you and also to give you visibility for investors to find you. And then there's also the marketplace, and there's also the communities. I mean, tons of different areas, deal network, and of course, a local chapter landing page. So if you want to learn more about that, hit up Erin Gregor. Just kidding. Erin Gregor and me. And me, I'll work. But you guys, thank you so much for another great episode, and happy 4th of July weekend. Stay safe. And that wraps it up for the Afterglow podcast. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you.